Hello, Internet. Welcome to The Beats on Drumming, hosted by yours truly, Leah Wynn, a 14-year-old freshman who's only recently gotten a drum kit after a year of showing interest in percussion. For context, I went to a middle school band concert for the first time near the end of 7th grade and went, yeah, that looks pretty hot, and decided to join percussion for the following year. I ended up only playing the leftover instruments and mallets that I didn't even know existed, so all the time I spent practicing to play snare was useless. But, anywho, it's in my firm belief that the drums, and drumming in general, are a really sick integral part of what makes music good as a whole, seeing as it's basically the backbone to almost every single song that one listens to. You tap your foot to it most of the time without realizing it, for God's sake. Today, on the first episode of the show, we'll be covering the drum's history and initial conception, the fundamentals of drumming including basic techniques, the core components that make up a kit, simple rhythms, and the significance of drumming. All of this will be compiled into a basic overview for the beginner's knowledge bank. So of course, like every lengthy commentary video on YouTube, we have to cover the roots of the drum and drumming as a concept to have a better understanding of the topic as a whole. Why? I don't know. It's just how this goes. The first drums can be linked back to early ancient civilizations, dating back to even the Bronze Age, in which percussion artifacts discovered in Mesopotamia to the Indus Valley were found made up of materials like animal hides stretched over logs or pottery. Drums were primarily used in ceremonial events, military marches, and religious rituals as a way to bring more funk and rhythm to the atmosphere. In the case of the most commonly known type of rhythmic vessel, the snare drum to be precise, it's said that during the Renaissance in Europe, drums had evolved from a ceremonial instrument to one used as a vital part of military marching bands. The conception of this led on to the creation of different percussion ensembles and eventually established itself within Western classical music. Oh, and I forgot to mention that the bones of animals were typically used as drumsticks as well. If you're going to skin them for the primary item, then you might as well use their ligaments to smash against them, I guess. Adapted from European classical instruments, American jazz and rock musicians helped advance the concept of drumming by incorporating multiple pieces of percussion into one main assembly, creating the infamous drum set that drummers still utilize to this day. Obviously. In terms of the bass drum, you can thank William F. Ludwig for being able to hit deep beats without the use of your hands. It's also worth mentioning that the invention of the drums are generally not credited to a specific person, as they have slowly evolved with new marks of innovation. As I've stated above, drum kits are typically comprised of 5 different pieces, those being the snare drum, located to the bottom left of the set, the high, mid, and low toms, which are spread across the front and bottom right of the set, the bass drum, which is usually placed in the middle range, and the hi-hat, crash, and ride cymbals. The throne of your musical castle is the drum stool. The snare drum forms the center of the kit and is the vital part of the most commonly played backbeat of most music. The top of its head, or the resonant, contains suspended snare wires which produce its infamous buzz-like sound. It includes a snare strainer which attaches snare wires to the drum which can turn snares on or off. It sits on a stand and a 3-arm basket. The toms or tom-toms come in 3s and attach to tom arms which attach to the bass drum and create a sound similar to the latter but are more sustainable compared to it. Its tone, sound, and pitch can vary in size and depth. They also have a batter or bottom head and resonant head like the snare. The kick drum, which I have yet to get the hang of, is played using a foot pedal which attaches to the drum's rim and can be altered by putting dampening material inside of it to control resonance or sound quality. It notably makes a loud boom sound and mainly establishes a song's main beat. The hi-hat, like the bass drum, is played using a pedal and is made of 2 cymbals facing each other. It can be played in a variety of ways but is normally played closed with the sticks hitting the top of it. I personally hate playing it digitally since opening and closing sucks for no real reason. In terms of the ride and crash cymbals, the ride is the bigger of the two and is typically used to maintain a steady pattern and has a quieter sound. Its brother, the crash cymbal, produces a loud thrashing sound and is often hit with it at the same time for dramatic effect. Before you take a bite into your meal using a utensil, you need to know how to correctly use it so that you can better shovel food into your mouth. The same goes for drumming, in a way. I suck at making analogies. If you're not able to hold the stick well and therefore have poor grip handling, then your playing will also be heavily affected. Sticks are typically held in a matched grip with both hands halfway angled upwards, otherwise known as an American grip. The fulcrum of the grip is the pivot point that a stick turns around, and is created by balancing the stick between your thumb and index/middle finger. Grip on the stick should be relatively loose to avoid lack of motion, and it's suggested to play using fingers, albeit wrists are also prominently used. Never use arms. The rudiments of drumming are the second most important part of technique, besides the fact that they're a pain in the ass to practice. Some of the most common rudiments include the single stroke roll, which is played by hitting the drum back and forth using a simple left-right sticking pattern. The double stroke roll, which uses an LLRR sticking pattern where the drum is hit twice by each stick. And the paradiddle, which consists of two single strokes and a double stroke in an RLRR pattern, and vice versa. Rhythms in drumming aren't really called what they are, but are instead described as beats or rhythms. The most common beat is the rock/pop beat, which includes a backbeat where the snare is hit on the 2 and 4 in a 4/4 time signature, which is basically where there are 4 beats per measure or section of music, with a hit for every beat. The bass drum plays on beats 1 and 3, while the hi-hat plays straight 8s. Case in point, so, why the hell is drumming so important? Why would one want to waste hours of their lives smashing into large canisters when they could learn something cooler like the trumpet or something? Well, drums are the heartbeat of every song, if I didn't make that clear. Without them, most of everything you listen to would sound unbelievably bland unless you have that kind of music taste. They're one of, if not the most versatile instrument to date, and learning it allows you to have a stronger sense of musicality with any other instrument you might want to delve into. They hold heavy cultural significance and identity and allow many to express themselves in ways other things may not allow them to. Whether you want to relieve anxiety or play along to a small band, learning the drums can help you unlock your inner musician and open doors that you may have never realized were there to begin with. Like anything else, starting out may seem challenging and a bit confusing, I would know, but given the internet and the free guides it provides, as long as you have a cardboard box or even just your own lap, it's possible for you to play just like any other player, large $3,000 kit or otherwise. For me personally, I got into the drums for the possibility of maybe being able to play for at least a small band one day, but even so, the path ahead is long, and yours will only extend every second you wait on dabbling with this one-of-a-kind instrument. I'm Leah, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Beats on Drumming.